We welcome you back to the city of Houston. We are in one of the most beautiful parts of Houston, Texas, with the River Oaks Country Club. Beautiful neighborhood, beautiful club, a lot of history. Playing at a stadium built way back in 1931. The greatest players in the game of tennis have played on this clay surface, and it continues this week with the National Clay Court Championships. We move now to our second semifinal. A number one seed, James Blake, against a veteran Spaniard, Oscar Hernandez. And hi again, everybody. Barry Tompkins, Leif Shirus alongside. And Leif, before we look ahead, let's look back for just a moment. A tremendous performance. We have Oscar Hernandez, a Spaniard, hoping to make it an all-Spanish final. But let's talk for a moment about Marcel Granollers. Did a great job in the first match.
He really did. Wayne Odesnik, the American, was trying to push into his first singles semifinals. He had 2 match points, but just couldn't close it out. Granollers proved that he's a tough player on a red clay court. Talk about serving and drop shots. I've never seen so many great shots.
And he really to reach down and find something too, because it looked for all the world as though the American was going to win his way to the final. 2 match points.
Yeah, Odesnik just couldn't close it at the end of the match. He got a little tight on the forehand, but we're expecting from James Blake that he'll be able to close it out if he has a chance.
Well, James Blake, of course, coming off an emotional high and a great victory for the United States in Davis Cup matches last week, so he's got to be feeling really good.
Yeah,
so
Blake is at the top of his game. He's a top 10 player at number 8 in the world, and there have been so many valuable moments that he's learned about in Davis Cup about himself. One of them came against France, against Paul-Henri Mathieu. This is match point down. Anyone else in the game, they wouldn't have been in the point, but somehow Blake fights his way back. He's back in the rally, and he shows life.
You know, this is a guy that has had his problems in 5-set matches, but all of a sudden, things are turning, and really in every aspect for this guy.
Yeah, no, he's turning out to really be playing his best tennis, and he only keeps getting better. The belief is strong, and when you win matches like this, you become a champion, and that's what he is.
Well, James Blake is a guy, of course, that was born to the hard courts, feels most comfortable on that surface, and would obviously, given a choice, rather be playing on that kind of surface, but he says, you know what, I'm feeling pretty good about playing here.
Yeah, well, he's playing at the level of tennis and the level of belief where he can win on any surface. You bring his speed and his big forehand onto clay, grass, or hard courts, he's going to be in the running.
So he is a hard courter, but he says, I'll tell you what, if I have to play on the clay anywhere, it may as well be here. I'm not only comfortable, I feel I can go ahead and win this thing.
But it felt good playing here, and it helps, of course, being in America. I really like the way these courts are playing. They're slow, but they're very true bouncing, and they're very well taken care of. So I'm excited to be in the semis, and going to have another tough clay quarter tomorrow. But I feel really good on the stuff right now, and I feel like I'm moving well, which is always the biggest transition is the movement on the clay.
Let's say he's going to have to play his very best, because he's playing a guy, as he was born to the hard courts, Oscar Hernandez was born to clay.
Yeah, he really was. I think Hernandez has 1 hard court win his entire career. So this is a guy who really only knows what clay court tennis is in his career. And he shows. You know, he's so comfortable. His rhythm is tremendous. He's got a wonderful one-handed backhand. I just have a feeling he won't have enough weaponry to deal with James Blake today to keep the American off him. Having said that, he's someone you have to go out and beat, and it's going to be tough to do.
A lot of experience. And of course, like Granollers, he came over here, didn't choose to play in Estoril, didn't choose to play in Valencia, came here because he could be a seeded player, and he feels it gives him his best opportunity to win. So that sets up our second semifinal. Oscar Hernandez, duck! Oh no, that is a duck. And he's going to get it on with James Blake. It's coming up when we come back to River Oaks Country Club. We're in Houston. We got a lot more tennis to talk about today. Don't go away. So we have our first finalist, and now we will find our second finalist, James Blake, Oscar Hernandez. And for an evaluation of this match, let's go once more courtside to Wayne Bryan. Wayne?
Well, Barry, Oscar Hernandez, one of these players that sort of came on at the end of his career. He's been top 100 the past few years, up to 75 right now. Second player from Barcelona today. We had a heartbreaker with Wayne Odesnik, the young American, serving for the match and losing in 3 tough sets. But we hope James Blake can get it done. What can you say about this young man? He won the crucial match against Russia in the Davis Cup finals in Portland. He won a huge match, down 2 match points in a 5-setter to beat Paul-Henri Mathieu in France against Winston-Salem. Love this guy. This might be the first time he can win a clay court championship. I know he's going to give it everything he's got. He's won this tournament when it was the international championships at River Oaks, not the formal ATP tournament. But I got my fingers crossed for James. What a great guy. And he helped bring the Davis Cup back to the United States. Back up to you, Barry.
Yeah, he's still riding an emotional high, no question about it. What does that do, Leif, having won on this surface at this facility? Got to help.
Yeah, no, he feels comfortable in the
you know, not only on the surface, but with the surroundings. He sees the ball well, likes the true bounce, because this is a wonderfully manicured court.
Gotten a little warmer, as you saw a moment ago, as this afternoon has moved along. 82 degrees now, and very little wind. Every now and then there's a little bit of a gust of wind, and when it gusts, it does affect the flight of the ball. And you can see the crowd getting a little sun, watching some good tennis. Gives us a chance right now to introduce ourselves and you, the tennis fan, to the Spaniard.
Hello, my name is Oscar Hernandez. I'm from Spain, from Barcelona. I'm Catalan. I speak Catalan. I turned 30 years old last week, the 10th of April. And I feel really good here in Houston. I'm my third time here. And my first time that I play here in River Oaks. I played twice in the West Side. And I'm so happy to be in the semifinals tomorrow. And I hope that it's going to be a fantastic week for me and also for Marcel Granollers.
Well, so far it has been for Marcel Granollers, as he has won his way into the final. Hernandez hopes to join him. The same philosophy as Granollers used. James Blake from Yonkers lives in Tampa now, and he doesn't talk like that.
Plays a lot of his tennis out of the Saddlebrook Resort there with Marty Fish and Bob and Mike Bryan. Gets a lot of training done in Tampa.
30 up.
Out of the blocks quickly here. Well, so James Blake, a guy certainly a known quantity here on Tennis Channel, but there are some things about him you might not know. Let's listen in.
Hi, I'm James Blake. I'm 28 years old. I was born in Yonkers, grew up in Fairfield, Connecticut, live in Tampa, Florida now, training at Saddlebrook Academy. I went to Harvard for 2 years, dropped out, or officially on leave to play pro tennis, and plan on going back and finishing when I'm done, and maybe finishing in economics or sociology.
James Blake is a guy, somehow you just don't worry about what he might do when his tennis career is over. You know we're all going to be working for James.
That's right. He's yeah, it's probably wise that he is an econ major with all the good money he's been making. Yeah. Over $5 million in prize money. And it doesn't include the many dollars he makes off court. He's popular, good looking, smart. Anything I've missed, Barry?
Other than that, what's he got?
Oh, what a shot. That was a quality exchange. And you can see Hernandez was doing everything, trying to mix the ball up, keep it up high, down low. He's a veteran out of Barcelona, one of the hottest cities in the world for tennis.
Great tennis city. You heard him say he speaks Catalan. I was in Barcelona last summer. Speaking Spanish doesn't do you any good there. It's just very proud of their Catalan background. It's being embraced in that city, everywhere you go in that city. Here's Oscar's trip to the semifinals.
Yeah, very solid. Lost the opening set of the tournament to Juan Pablo Berzicki, Argentine, and then took out a couple of Americans, Donald Young and Marty Fish, in straight sets. Just a little too much clay court savvy for Young and Fish.
Blake has gone out very quickly here.
Yeah, and Hernandez will have to be careful about just curling the ball back in the center of the court. You just cannot afford to feed Blake forehands.
because he will absolutely crush the ball.
Now, he is a great front runner. The longer you can stay in a match against James Blake, the better your chances. Another thing about James Blake, and you were talking about all his attributes, he is a great public speaker and does a lot of it, works with a lot of charities, and was always a very shy guy. His mom told me she was amazed the first time she heard him speak in public, how good he was. Really grounded individual. I really think the world of James.
Yeah, Blake is one of those character guys on the tour. He's a fiery competitor, yet he's someone you can trust.
Coach of both Hernandez and Granollers.
Well, that may be Hernandez's best shot when he has some time on the backhand. Beautifully controlled strike. Again, look at the preparation. It looks a little bit like Gasquet, the way he locks that racket head up high. And that swing is coming a long way, but he gets the racket face to the contact point right on time. His weight is down on that front leg. Very solid.
So Hernandez is held in his first service game. 1-all. Second semifinal here of the Men's Clay Court Championships.
James Blake's road to the semifinals was a little easier than Hernandez. You can see Kei Nishikori. That's a rematch of the Delray Beach final from earlier this year. Nishikori beating Blake there, so a bit of revenge. And then Ryan Harrison in the second round. That's a 15-year-old qualifier from New Braunfels, Texas. A great story. Ryan Harrison coming through the qualifying. Match here, which was remarkable for someone so young.
Really? Blake said he felt like he was playing the juniors again.
Yeah. Took on Nishikori, who's 18-year-old, and Harrison's 15.
Well played by Hernandez. The interesting backstory to all of that is that Blake has played no one in his 20s in this event.
Yeah. Look at that ball right on the sideline. Earns the short ball. Now that's one of the challenges for Blake, his ability to take the ball on the rise, something that Andre Agassi also had to face, because you don't have the same faith in the bounce to take the ball early. So it's hard to apply pressure consistently on a clay court. Nice changeup by Blake there, 15-30 down. Second serve, and he served in volley. And what that does is it forces your opponent to see you in his peripheral vision. The Spaniard took his eye off that ball, played it off the frame.
Blake's kind of a no-nonsense guy. Gets the ball, gets up there, hits it. You get the sense that's just fine with Oscar Hernandez. Perfectly set up. That time went up the tee with the serve. Got Hernandez moving. Hits it right on the line. Wins the point. Wins his serve. We welcome you back. Barry Tompkins, Leif Shiras here at the second semifinal match of these men's clay court championships here at River Oaks in Houston. James Blake, Oscar Hernandez. We're on serve. Hernandez to serve. 1-2 first set.
Yeah, an absolutely sensational afternoon. It's right around 75, 80 degrees. Not too much of a breeze. Perfect conditions for tennis. A great crowd. And Blake playing for a spot in the championship.
Waiting for the crowd to settle behind James Blake. James Blake will take that. What's going on with American tennis? Well, here are American players in the top 100. That is players born here in the United States. Goes down to Vince Spadea at number 90. Odesnik came close. Still is close. Came in here 116, 117, and will improve his lot.
Yeah, Marty Fish went out in the quarterfinals here. Sam Querrey was beaten in the opening round by Nicolas Massu of Chile.
Oh, great shot. Off the backhand side by Blake, gives him 3 break points.
And you just can't roll the ball in against Blake. There are no more holes in his game. I mean, he's rough off both wings. Now watch Blake step inside the baseline here.
Yep. Good point, though. He gives a good 2 feet inside the baseline.
Yeah, and you like that little bit of variety from Blake, who can take the ball early, yet he can also play a beautiful underspin backhand. And that'll challenge your opponent to get down to a low ball. Buy yourself a little bit of time, because time on a tennis court, we've talked about this, it equals opportunity. It increases your options. See the ball earlier, have more time to do more with it.
Hernandez has weathered a couple of break points against him, still facing one. There it is. First break of the match to James Blake.
Yeah, you just can't afford to be predictable against Blake. I mean, he is just sitting on that backhand. Watch him quickly change to the backhand grip the minute he sees it coming. He gets on top of the bounce. I mean, that's just rock solid. That's sweet tennis.
Huge shot there off the backhand.
And you know, a couple years ago, you say, well, you can at least be safe in the rally going to James' backhand. Now, I don't think you can be. And that's why he's 8 in the world, and he's not going anywhere. Quarterfinals at the Australian, quarterfinals at Indian Wells and Miami. Is it any surprise that he's 8 in the world?
I don't believe so. That's just too good. He just absolutely overpowered Hernandez.
30 go.
And this is why I feel like Blake still has his best clay court tennis ahead of him. He's never played tremendously well on clay, at least in terms of results. But you just get the sense that with this newfound confidence, newfound equipment, he's got a real chance to make some noise.
40 go.
As I said in the Open, Blake's going to stay even on the backhand with Hernandez, and Hernandez doesn't have that big weapon to put Blake on his heels. So the American's going to be able to dictate play today.
Just wide.
40-15.
Thomas Blake on hand, watching his brother.
He's the one who's kept all the locks, the dreadlocks. Remember how shocking it was when James actually cut all his off?
James, the youngest in the family, and his brother Thomas and his mom and his dad all used to beat him up when he was a kid, but nobody's beating up now, most particularly Oscar Hernandez, 4-1. James Blake 4-1, and he is really driving the bus here in this semifinal. We mentioned a little bit earlier, Thomas Blake, his brother, travel companion here, and the two go everywhere together. One needs the other.
Yeah, well, Thomas has been great. He's anytime I need him, he's there. And Brian took a couple weeks off, and Thomas has been helpful. And now he might get a big head thinking he's a great clay court coach because he's been with me for some of my best clay court tournaments and best clay court wins. So I think he's a clay court specialist coach. But but in all seriousness, he's been great. He keeps me relaxed, and he knows when I'm stressed, when I'm not, what to do, when to talk, when not to, and we know each other so well that it's really comfortable. And he also knows a ton about tennis, and he's great at getting scouting reports and watching matches and doing all the little things that make my life easier. And he's been doing that his whole life, making my life easier in terms of someone to look up to and someone to kind of emulate. And I still do that to this day because he's such a great guy that, you just see him even around the grounds, everyone loves him. And it's just because he really, once you meet him, you can't help but like him. And my whole family, I feel like, has that characteristic, except me, maybe. I don't know. I might have come out of nowhere. I don't know where I fit in there, but they all seem to have that smile that's contagious. And that's been so helpful to me. It's made my life so much more fun and so easy.
Well, I never did have an opportunity to meet his dad, but I have met and spent some time with his mom and Thomas and James, and everything he says is right about his family, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why James has had the success he has had. It's not just about forehands and backhands. It's a lot of it is about character, and these guys have it.
Hernandez went off at the last changeover, as you saw, bouncing his racket, obviously upset with how he's playing. But I think really it's more about James Blake than it is about Oscar Hernandez right now. He wanted that one.
And nice work from Hernandez, though, to get in position. Once you're committing to that net, you've got to be aggressive. Think aggressively as a player at the net. And he did. He assumed a good position. Blake felt he had to do something special and missed it.
Hernandez.
So Oscar Hernandez is held to remain just one break down. Been mentioning all day that this is the start of the clay court season. It will culminate in Paris. Roland Garros beginning here on Tennis Channel Sunday, May 25th. Write the date down, Memorial Day weekend. Tennis from Roland Garros.
Yeah, this is going to be such an anticipated event. The second Grand Slam event of the season. Can Federer make a breakthrough? Does Nadal ever lose a match in Paris? Can Roddick or Blake make some noise? It's going to be compelling. Glad that we could be a part of it.
Djokovic, the only one who can win a Grand Slam.
Yeah, he's got a great chance. And we said that Hernandez doesn't have the power to out-hit Blake, but you can see he can put Blake in awkward positions. So he's going to try and find those positions and those plays that are going to give him some sort of advantage in the rally.
He was talking about how at 30 years, he's really starting to settle into the game and appreciate the game.
I mean, yeah, he's gone through a lot of development as a player, and it's interesting how everyone has their path in tennis to finding their best tennis. You know, suddenly he's done it all later in life. I mean, he played so many clay court matches on challengers.
Well played point by James Blake.
Yeah, and Hernandez is, you know, a guy, he's had so much challenger tennis in him, but now he's suddenly brought that game to the ATP Tour, and you can see he's difficult to beat. I mean, you have to play this kind of tennis. Blake just needs to maintain this level, and he'll get through this. Oops. That one got away from him. And you know, Blake has played so much winning tennis this year, you feel as if he's almost on automatic pilot. I know he's thinking about the surface a little more and maybe not moving as easily. But again, winning is such a remarkable habit, and when you do a lot of it like Blake has done, he already has 22 match wins, which is second highest on the ATP Tour, only behind Nadal. So he's one of the best players in the world, no doubt about it.
And he finishes it off with an ace, again going up the tee. He's got a break in hand, 5-2 for James Blake. Hernandez will serve to stay in the first set when we come back to River Oaks after this. Well, here you see the entry to where we are holding forth here at River Oaks Country Club. Beautiful area of Houston. Some very, very beautiful, and oh, by the way, very expensive houses here. But a really nice little oasis, isn't it?
Yeah, this is one of the more special clubs in the U.S., if not around the world. The world-class golf course right behind us. But these courts, the longer a court's been in place, you feel the more it is settled in, and this is a very true court, as James Blake said earlier. Beautiful bounce, beautiful feel.
30 love.
Hernandez seems to have settled down a little bit too now. Golf course out behind the arcade, as you saw just a moment ago. And the winner off the forehand side by Hernandez. A lot of the players, as they finish play, they go into the locker room, change pants, and they're out on the golf course in about, what, minute and a half?
Yeah, well, someone told me that Sam Querrey shot a 2 under.
Yes.
I mean, that is a good score.
Playing the wrong game.
You know, Barry, I was wrong earlier. He's actually tied with Nadal. James Blake is for match wins at 22. Davydenko is first with 23. So have to give the Russian credit after winning Miami.
Tell the baller to stand on the other side of the score.
As Blake lost in the quarterfinals in Miami and in Indian Wells to Rafael Nadal.
Hats are in season here, even on the players. James Blake. You talked about his winning record here this year, and he and Andy Roddick really holding up their end so far as Americans this year, but look at all the others. They're sub 500.
Yeah. Well, Blake and Roddick were the only Americans to win a title last year, 2007. Oh, it's a great pressure backhand from Blake. So it's nice to see Sam Querrey win in Vegas this year. And before 2007, you had to go back to Marty Fish right here in Houston, winning the title. That was the last time someone other than Blake or Roddick had won a title.
I think what's starting to happen, though, is that a lot of the European players who are strictly clay court specialists are now coming over here winning the hard court. So it's not so easy for the Americans anymore on their own surface.
That was magical. And this is the kind of play you convert when you are in absolute confident mode. I mean, look at this, a stretch volley with touch. And that's a part of Blake's game that he's been wanting to work on, that finesse finish.
Complements the power game so well. So a couple of set points for James Blake. Not this time. Still set point.
That's it, first set to James Blake. It took all of 30 minutes for Blake to win the first set. 6 games to 3. Second set coming up when we come back to River Oaks. 6 games to 3 for James Blake in the first set. A very impressive first set lead.
Yeah, it was a great performance from Blake. You know, he really isn't allowing anything to get into his head other than just seeing the ball, moving to it, and hitting it. He's keeping it very simple, and he's just riding this wave of remarkable confidence he has. He looks unbeatable right now, and you can see he's in a good headspace. He's very calm, very relaxed, and he's getting it done.
Well, coming off a great victory, of course, against Russia in the Davis Cup, and that earned the Davis Cup team for the United States a spot in a Wheaties box, and there's not a lot of people can make that statement.
That's a great souvenir, isn't it? Andy Roddick on the far right, Captain Patrick McEnroe on the left.
That's still to come in the Davis Cup. It's not going to get any easier for the United States. They have to go play Spain to play the winner of Russia and Argentina. That's 4 good teams.
Yeah, 4 great teams. Russia on the road will be a tough one. Spain will no doubt be watering down a nice red clay court.
Wouldn't you? Last time they played in Spain, of course, 27,000 fans on hand. About 26,500, I think, were rooting for Spain. They lost 5-love in that series. The series before, the one we just spoke of in Spain, 5-love.
I think that was 2000 when John McEnroe could not get Sampras or Agassi to be a part of the team, and just were handled comfortably.
It was just such a different vibe, different feeling playing Davis Cup. I mean, every player that's played it has talked about it. It's not like tournament tennis. That's about as hard as Hernandez could hit a ball, I think.
Yeah, and that's asking a lot from Hernandez to produce winners from the back of the court to beat James Blake. He does a good job of it here. You can see he whips over the top of that ball to find that angle cross court short. Well, he needs to come up with something good here. Setting a break, and he might be on his way out of here.
And first service.
See if he comes inside the baseline here on the second serve.
Came way in, tried to put it up the line, did everything except execute.
30 all.
All teed up and just didn't hit it.
40-30.
Well, Hernandez kept the ball down low, played it with underspin. And that's a difficult place to generate pace from when the ball's below the level of the net.
So Hernandez does a nice job. Hold serve in the first game of the second set. And of course, plenty more tennis coming your way on Tennis Channel. We talked about the clay courts. Also the Fed Cup semifinals. Russia and the United States next weekend, Saturday, April 26th. Get underway at 8 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah, and that's going to be a difficult ask for the USA without Serena Williams, without her sister Venus, and without Lindsay Davenport. Plus, Ashley Harkleroad will not be a part of it. She's injured, so the U.S. will probably have to turn to Vanya King. And Liesl Huber, I believe, is going to play doubles, although I'm not sure they've set the complete team. You can see the winner will take on the winner of China and Spain. Some new nations making an appearance. Of course, that semifinal will also be a part of Tennis Channel's coverage. A couple of doves making their way onto Stadium Court here.
The political statement.
Good that they left. They might have been hurt by that.
Yeah, look at that. There they are.
50 all.
I'm not sure what they're looking for, but give peace a chance.
Yeah. Very well-cut point by Oscar Hernandez.
50 all.
Yeah, this is what the Spaniards do well, is defend. They know you have to hit one more ball, and they're willing to run it down. And look, he'll just keep this in play with almost that squash shot. We see Roger Federer play that. A number of the top players, including Andy Roddick, like to take a wild swipe at the ball.
James Blake tried to be very fine with that shot. It's short.
Right on the line. Tremendous shot by Oscar Hernandez, who has just measured the court here in this service game of James Blake.
This is a page out of Blake's book. Of course, this time he let the ball bounce a little bit. Or I should say, drop a little bit.
And so now, Oscar Hernandez with 2 break-point chances against Blake.
Hernandez leads 2 games to 1.
I beg your pardon, getting the break on that point.
Yeah, that was a big break. The net court falling over. There wasn't much Blake could do. I almost thought, you know, maybe a drop shot would have been perhaps needed. But you can see suddenly the Spaniard is causing a few problems for Blake. More balls back into play, defending a little bit more.
Well, remember, his countryman took more than a set. It's about a set and 2/3 to defeat the American, Marcel Granollers. Wins his way into the final, had to come back from 2 match points against them to do so. And now Oscar Hernandez, his countryman, making a little noise of his own here.
15 love.
From what you can see.
Great return of serve from Blake just to stay in the point. When you return cross court, you have a little more room for error. A big portion of the court.
Started by Blake's coming in off that short second serve.
Yeah, and that's a sure sign for Hernandez that he needs to get first serves into play or take a little more risk on the second serve. Blake throws out that challenge.
Good example right there. He gets the first serve in, very different point.
Well, there are times in a rally, depending on your position in the court, where an injection of pace can work against you. And that time Blake was well to his right on the forehand wing. He hit the ball very hard, and suddenly he had all this room to cover. You have to be very selective about when you pull the trigger.
Crowd here, very knowledgeable tennis crowd here.
So Hernandez is held. And Hernandez 3 games to love here in the second set with a break in hand. Blake will serve when we come back. These are the men's clay court championships. There is the trophy that everybody strives for, it seems, every year. And every player who wins in Davis Cup gets a ring just like that one.
Yeah, and the U.S. team. And the USTA did something very unique in that they had those rings made for the 4 players. Also the captain, Patrick McEnroe, received a ring. The ring had 5 diamonds, symbol of the 5 of them and the commitment they've had over the years. It was a wonderful gesture by the USTA, something you see a little bit more in team sports. A nice moment for the U.S. side, so deserving.
Absolutely. So James Blake now love 3 in the second set. Won the first.
I was there at the championship.
I know you were.
I wouldn't mind having a ring like that.
Finishes off that point with a big forehand.
And you felt like that was a must-win point for Blake. Things were beginning to pile up. Hernandez had some momentum. Blake needs to turn this thing around right now.
Good shot by Hernandez again, right on the line.
15-30.
Tried to get a little bit too cute. I think he maybe just didn't know what shot he wanted to hit.
Yeah. You know, maybe the drop shot was a good shot there, but he just executed it so poorly that you have to think it wasn't a good decision. Had he made it, we would have been talking about what a genius he was.
That's true.
That's the nature of the drop shot. Now this is a lesson for Hernandez. Don't just roll it back into play. You have to play with a purpose.
Which he's been doing here in the second set.
Yeah, he's certainly improved his play. He's playing better combinations for him.
Careless with that. James Blake is held.
Yeah, that was a big game for Blake to win, and we can look now at some of the top Americans and their career records by surface. James Blake, 31 and 39 on clay. Of course, Andy Roddick has a winning record on clay, but just hasn't played it much, and you can see that, you know, these guys have amassed quite a record on hard courts, grass, indoor hard.
Interesting, though, that Roddick, the only plus 500, and he's well over 500 on this surface.
Well, Blake is not so much about tactics on a clay court as he is about playing his game just better. You know, executing, making his conversions. Just a few more unforced errors leaking into his play right now.
Watching our second semifinal match here at River Oaks in the U.S. Clay Court Championships. #1 seed James Blake and Oscar Hernandez, the veteran Spaniard. Barry Tompkins, Lee Shiras alongside, telling you about it. Beautiful day here in Houston. A lot of history in this place. Got caught up in the wind and was blown wide.
30-15.
This facility started way back in 1923, built over 183 acres. The main court here that we're watching seats 3,400 people, most of which are very comfortable in the shaded portion as the sun starts to come across the stadium. Difficult situation here, I would think, Lee, because Hernandez serving out of the sun into the shadow. top.
Yeah, they've turned on the lights here to try and address some of the shadows that are creeping across the court as solid attacking tennis. Blake just moves so effortlessly back to that smash.
Double fault from Hernandez. Does the sun have any effect on that?
Possibly. His second in this game. Oh, he's wasting a real opportunity here up 3-1. You can see the covered court, the wooden stand there, and the shadow that is created.
Blake with a chance to get this back on serve. It's good. And the break from James Blake, and we are back on serve. Men's semifinal from here at River Oaks. We're on the Tennis Channel. We're coming back. Well, Americans have known some success in these clay court championships. Back in 05, Andy Roddick, Sebastian Grosjean.
This was a great moment for Andy Roddick. Remember, his first title was on clay in Atlanta. His second title was a clay court win in Houston. And this particular year, he took down Sebastian Grosjean, a very talented Frenchman. Again, this court is nice for Roddick. It was a little bit harder when this event was over at Westside, so his serve, he could really convert. That was a big win, a dominating win for him just a couple years back. And you can see the size and how remarkable the trophy is.
There's Roddick in 05, Agassi won in 03, Tommy Haas in 04. Been some very familiar names have won this event.
Roddick also won this title in 2001 and 2002, so 3 times a champion. James Blake would like to win this for the first time, his first clay court title.
He's in a battle right now with Hernandez. Trying to be aggressive there.
Of course, Andy Roddick is normally a part of this event. He's taken the week off to spend some time in New York with his fiancée, Brooklyn Decker. He's getting ready for tournaments in Rome and Hamburg.
$15.30.
Well, here's a chance for Hernandez to get this break back.
The opening set seemed so easy for Blake. He was relaxed. Hernandez was never able to apply any scoreboard pressure. This second set is so different.
Hernandez just kind of watched out. Still a great point opportunity.
30-40.
Now, what kind of decision will Blake make here? Will he serve and volley, or will he hit the first serve and try and get the forehand into play? Let's see what Thomas Blake sees.
Man is very upset. Blake has gotten this back to deuce. Blake with a point to consolidate the break he had a moment ago.
And that's another facet of Blake's game that you feel he's making great strides with, and that's a first serve. Produces it more consistently, produces it more under pressure when he needs it. Woo, what a shot. You can put that forehand on any surface, any situation. I mean, that's a pretty good reply from Hernandez.
I'll say.
That is just scary. Not many players in the game can hit the ball that hard on the run, going to their right and pulling the ball back cross court. Andre Agassi used to do that, but I just don't see many guys doing that nowadays. That flat and that hard.
That was a big game for James Blake. Got back from 2 break points against.
Some champions in North America in 2008. Started off with Kei Nishikori taking out James Blake in Delray Beach. You can see Roddick winning in San Jose. Steve Darcis in Memphis, a man from Belgium. Sam Querrey, the American, winning his first title in Vegas. Novak Djokovic, Nikolai Davydenko winning the Masters Series events. Sorry.
Nice touch. He's imploding with joy. Blake seems to find another gear here.
15-30.
Yeah, well, he just asks the question every point. He steps up, hits the ball hard, and if you leave the ball anywhere in the center of the court, he's going to step up and take another swing. I mean, Hernandez wants to avoid the forehand here on this first serve because Blake will take a swing.
Next, versus.
Conversation with himself. Much more a demonstrative player than I thought he was.
Well, you really thought Blake had put Hernandez in some trouble with that last cross-court ball. Hernandez is so gifted in his movement on this red clay court. Able to put it back into play, stay on neutral terms. Found the error.
Judgment on the part of Blake.
Looking very comfortable in this nice move to the net.
The wind has picked up a bit here. If the flags are an indication of what's going on the court, which they aren't always, it would be at the back of Hernandez. There you see the flags that we're looking at kind of blowing straight out toward James Blake. Wind coming in the exact opposite direction as it did yesterday. But a lot of times, of course, what we see on top of the stadium, a little bit different than what the players are experiencing on the court.
Yeah, this court has a fair amount of protection from the stands.
Once again, Hernandez with an opportunity to hold. Pulled Blake just wide enough, and he will hold 4-3. We're on serve in the second set. James Blake won the first set, 6-3. We're coming back. Well, that's our ace cameraman Kevin on the court, and look at the position that he's got to get in just to shoot a shot of us up here. You see what it's? I hope it's worth the effort. Look at that. We are way up on top here.
We're up in the crow's nest, so we've got a great angle down into this center court.
Stage manager Lisa alongside. Come on in here, Lisa. Get to be on television soon. James Blake serving to Oscar Hernandez. On serve in the second set.
Next, first six.
Oh, what a great exchange. Both guys playing some marvelous clay court tennis. And watch what Hernandez does. Watch how he slides through the ball. That gives it a little extra gas. But Blake was up to the challenge. Came up with a nice bit of touch with the lob. And this is just the kind of game Blake wants to produce here. He's had some chances in Hernandez's last service game. If he can get through this service game and reapply the pressure, perhaps he can get the breakthrough and get out of here in straight sets.
Yeah, he'd rather not hang around and play a third set.
Did that catch the line?
Well,
yes, it did. And that's a little bit of invention. That's beautiful.
Oh, I'll say. Look at that. intentional.
Yeah, well, the catch was better than the last backhand he played.
It was.
Because he was in a good position there. There was plenty of pressure.
Had the right grip on the catch. Blake is held. 4-all. Second men's semifinal here in the United States Men's Clay Court Championships. We're at River Oaks here in Houston, Texas. James Blake, Oscar Hernandez on serve in the second set. Blake won the first 6-3. Barry Tompkins alongside Leif Shiras. So now Hernandez to serve. It's interesting to watch this match develop because, you know, coming into this match, each man has to bring something to the court. Blake feels his edge is that he's got so much confidence. He's playing top 10 tennis. Hernandez comes in feeling like, I'm a better clay court player. I can find a way to get past this top 10 player. He's never beaten a top 10 player in his career. And he's slowly playing his way into this set. As an opponent, you have to expect that. And Blake respects this man across the net from him. His opponent is tough, so he realizes that he's got to find a way to close it out. And it may not be the same tactics that won him the opening set. I think it's a different player who's looking across the net at than he saw in the first set, too. And the first set wasn't that easy for him.
I mean, every time you step on a tennis court, no matter what level of tennis player, you have to have an edge in your mind, whether it's real or not.
Well, it's exactly the reason that Hernandez came here and opted to play half a world away from where he could have played, which was literally hundreds of miles, only hundreds of miles from his home. Could have played in Valencia. Or he could have traveled across Spain to Portugal and played at Estoril. And he holds for 5-4, and instead he opted to come here to Houston and play here because he said, I can be seated, and there are more hardcourt players here. I got a better chance to win. And here he is in the semifinals. We're coming back. Good look at the River Oaks Country Club. Golf course, tennis courts, 18 hardcore, rather 8 hard courts, 10 clay courts here at River Oaks. Of course, here on Tennis Channel, all kinds of activity and all around the world. Clay court season getting started in Estoril, that's in Portugal, of course. Roger Federer will play Nikolai Davydenko in the final there. Federer has never lost to Davydenko. At Valencia, an all-Spanish final, David Ferrer and Nicolas Almagro.
Almagro is a two-time defending champion in Valencia. Had a tough task ahead of him taking out Ferrer, but interesting to note that Roger Federer has hired a Spanish coach in Jose Higueras. He was with the world #1 in Estoril. To tell you the truth, when Jose Higueras was young, he actually has the same build as Hernandez.
That's very true.
Runs all day. You can't play a better tennis point than that, can you? No. Blake did everything right. He played under control, yet he played aggressively. 30. Notice how his head is very still. His body's in position. Get those legs to move yourself into position to make the play.
Hernandez, though, has played a very confidence-building second set, I think.
Well, that's one occasion where a miss hit paid off. Blake caught the backhand at the top of the frame. Turned out to be sort of a challenging short ball.
So like to lose a service game for James Blake for 5-all.
5-all.
We've been talking about the stadium, how there's really not a bad seat in the house here. The furthest seat in this stadium from the court is just 73 feet away. So you're on top of it no matter where you're sitting. Except for us.
Yeah. Did it catch?
Thought I heard an out call.
Yeah, it takes some strength in the shoulder to drive that ball on a straight line. That was something out of Ken Rosewall's locker.
Yeah.
That slice backhand down the line.
It was just out.
Barry, do you notice that there are plenty of young women in the crowd today? I'm not sure they're here for us.
Maybe not. No.
I think they're here for James Blake.
I knew that when they called me sir.
Just to remind you, James Blake was in the People magazine's 2006 and 2007 Sexiest Man Alive issue.
That. You didn't make that list again.
I didn't. Yeah, I think I might
I think you were 51, as I recall. Weren't you?
I get the magazine. That's about the closest I get to that list. A big point here. That's a clutch delivery. The guy not known as a big server, he used placement well and enough pace to get it away from Blake. Look at the location here. Up the line, short in the court.
Literally overpowered Hernandez that time.
Well, that is the threat that Blake poses. Anytime you play into the forehand corner, you've got to come in with something good, and that's just not good enough. And I think people say the same thing about Roger Federer. You go into that side of the court, you have to go in strong.
Hit it harder.
So a break point chance here.
I'll give you when I think it's a warning.
James Blake an opportunity to serve out the match. There's a car alarm going off somewhere nearby. And again, he comes up with a big serve.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where you're trying to find a mark. Find one that's out. And if you don't find a mark, usually that's a sign that you're in trouble.
James Blake thinks that the umpire's looking at the wrong mark, but Blaze Trufanovsky in the chair. James saying, how about this one?
Warren, is he kidding? I mean, he made a terrible mistake last time. I mean, this is the only mark that's even close to where it could have possibly hit.
I'm sure about the mark.
Here's another look at it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the umpire was definitely looking at the wrong mark.
Definitely. So again, great point chance for James Blake. Now Blake's going to make sure that the wrong spot is not again looked at by the umpire.
Yeah, and that's a wise decision. You don't want him finding that mark later and saying, well, here it is again. Every time Hernandez has been down, he's come up with a big first serve.
Yeah, and each time it's been in a different place.
And a second serve right on the line. Well, he was also surprised by the depth and the power from Blake. It's another facet of clay court tennis, is when you're on the defensive, coming up with something to counter. And that time Blake came up with something special.
Yeah, big serve from Hernandez.
Hernandez.
Hernandez is held. So Hernandez 6-5, and Blake will serve to force a second set tiebreak.
Yeah, and that's about as well as Hernandez can play. He certainly served his best tennis just to stay ahead 6-5 on score. Or on serve, I should say.
Well, our first semifinal already in the books, and there's the man who has made his way to the final, Marcel Granollers.
Yeah, in the early goings, though, was Wayne Odesnik, who was really playing his best tennis. I mean, he was showing no nerves at all, his first ATP semi, and he was dictating play.
And then it took a turn.
Yeah, that was a match point saved right there by the Spaniard.
And then he finished it with a flourish, an ace up the tee, and it is Granollers that will move on into the final to play the winner of the match that we're watching right now between Granollers' countryman Oscar Hernandez and the American James Blake. That championship match will come your way on Tennis Channel, 3 o'clock Eastern tomorrow.
And you feel a little bit bad for Wayne Odesnik, who played well enough to win the match. He put himself in a winning position, 6-3, 5-3, and a couple of match points. Can you believe it? And just unable to get it done. See, we'll have our final tomorrow again at 3 p.m. Eastern time, right here from the River Oaks Country Club. Couldn't ask for a better day, a better setting. It's going to be cooling off in the mid-70s now. Not too much of a wind that's affecting play.
Just absolutely perfect conditions in Houston. Play this tournament in June or July, it's a different story. Even the armadillos have sweatbands in June and July.
How do you know that? Is that true?
I used to play against one.
Oh, okay.
Beat me 1-2.
For someone like Hernandez, who prides himself on putting the ball into play, I mean, that's a poor return.
Hernandez now seeing a little crack in the door. James Blake, I'm sure, not too keen on playing a third set here.
That's something that Jim Courier used to do so well. When it was a big point, you don't see his backhand. And this time Blake hides his backhand, produces the winner on the forehand. The Spaniard ended up on the seat of his pants trying to get that ball back. I mean, he'll go to any length to extend the point.
I was going to say, he was on the defense that entire point. And an ace. So we're going to go to a tiebreak here in the second set. We have not yet played an hour and a half in this match. Second set, though, went on just about an hour. First set was over a half hour. Tom Blake.
Now, this will be Blake's first tiebreaker this week. Hernandez needed a tiebreak to take out Marty Fish.
So Hernandez to serve first.
Would you sit down, please? Thank you.
Somebody sneezed right in the middle of Oscar Hernandez's ball toss. Zero.
1-0, Hernandez.
Bring it back.
And Blake had to make a quick decision. Do I take that up the line? And I think he was able to go cross court because he could hit it harder over the low part of the net.
2-1, Blake.
Blake's ball that he was looking at. 2-1. Now Hernandez with 2 serves.
That's the one challenge playing on clay, is to try and take the ball early. The bounces are oftentimes not true because the surface piles up. You can see what happens when you aren't able to get that sweet timing going.
First mini break of this tiebreak.
3-2, Blake.
3-2 now Blake with 2 serves.
And Blake's returns come at you so quickly and they're so flat. Hernandez just not accustomed to that kind of pace right at him.
Again, the racket toss from Oscar Hernandez, 4-2 for Blake in the tiebreak at the changeover.
Yeah, and that was such a great drive from Blake. It was inside out, high percentage, and look at the depth. Again, he's hitting into the big part of the court. That's just a smart play. He went back where the ball came from, so he had everything going his way on that forehand, and now he's got a lead at 4-2.
Has one more serve. Now 5-2. So Blake in control here.
5-2, Blake.
The line.
Well, he needed to convert that one, didn't he?
Absolutely
had to have
it.
Yeah, has to win these 2 service points. He's got one of them.
It's out. And it brings James Blake now to 3 match points.
I almost thought the serve was close as well. No call from the lines person.
He's looking at
right there. It's very close.
last shot.
No, he's looking at the serve. You're right. He was saying, well, the return was good, but the serve may have been out.
Wasn't any doubt about that one. So 3 match points now for James Blake. And that's it. So James Blake is through to the final. And it will be neither an All-American final nor an All-Spanish final. It'll be the American James Blake, the Spaniard Marcel Granollers. Tom Blake likes it. It wasn't easy.
No, this was a difficult match. Blake had to play well, and he really did through the first set. And then down the break in the second, recovered to take it into tiebreak. So he's at a level of player where you think he's clearly the favorite in the championship match, adjusting well to the clay and doing so many things well.
Yeah, I thought he was too, and he's likely to get all he wants from Marcel Granollers, who played a great second set, great third set to win his way to the final.
Get mad tomorrow.
James Blake is in the final, winning 6-3, 7-6 in a tough second set against Oscar Hernandez, but Blake survives in a tiebreak. Right now, he's with Wayne Bryan. Wayne?
Well, James, you cruised there in the first set 6-3, and then suddenly you're down 0-3, and you had a clay court dogfight on your hands.
Yeah, that's what you expect when you're in the weekend of a clay court tournament. Guys are going to fight hard. Oscar played great, and I managed to sneak back. I think he maybe got a little nervous ahead of himself at 3-0, and I took advantage and played a really good tiebreaker, I felt, and couldn't ask for a better end to it.
Well, you've run the River Oaks Invitational twice. You're very comfortable on this court. The fans are behind you 100%. Can you win your first ATP clay court title out here tomorrow?
Feeling pretty good. A lot. I like my chances a lot better now than I did at the beginning of the week. I feel great now. I adjusted coming from fast hard courts last week in Winston-Salem to playing on the clay, and now I almost feel comfortable on the clay, and tomorrow hopefully even more comfortable.
Well, James, you've been coming back so well the last couple of years. You're winning your 5-setters now. In Davis Cup, you were down 5-4 against Usney. You win that one. Last week against Ballier Matu, you're down and win. You're getting awfully clutch.
Yeah, well, Houston's clutch city, isn't it, right? I mean, they got Robert Horry, and so I guess I'm in the right place. And it just feels good to be doing it here at home in the States. I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of times it happens on home soil.
Well, right now, James, we have a very special award. Let me bring out the tournament chairman right now, Mr. David Modisette. How about a hand for David, everybody? Hi, Dave.
Good to see you, Mr. Modisette.
The Ernie Langston Award is given every year for sportsmanship, for people that represent what tennis is all about. This is a 75-year-old tournament. The U.S. Men's Clay Court is a 98-year-old tournament. There's a huge amount of tradition involved. There's no place else that you can go in the United States, sit this close, and watch this caliber of tennis. But what really makes it worthwhile are the people. Ernie Langston contributed a trophy in 1957. We have his grandson, Jim Bayless, here today to present that trophy. And we're going to present it to two individuals, two guys that have been coming here for the last 8 years, that have risen with tennis, that represent all of the things that make tennis a great sport, both on and off the court. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2008 Langston Trophy winners, James and Thomas Blake. Come on.
Yeah, right.
Get around. Not only do they play great tennis, not only do they...
Well, a really nice offering for sportsmanship to a guy, and actually two guys, if you look at that picture, who define the term, I think.
Now, great competitors, great sportsmen, a couple of Harvard students who have done so many great things for tennis, and they continue to do it now in 2000.